Hello and welcome to part 3 of my video series on the SPi Mini throttle body and inlet manifold assembly. In part 3 I'm going to be putting together the inlet manifold assembly. Welcome back to the shed. It's part 3 of my throttle body and inlet manifold assembly. As you can see, we're looking at the inlet manifold, so we're going to do the bits and pieces to do with finishing this off so that the throttle body can go on top. This is one of my fully refurbished manifolds. As you can see, it's got lovely stainless steel replacement pipes. It's got replacement, these ones are brass replacement core plugs, but I also do stainless steel. Yeah, it's a thing of beauty, if I do say so myself. And if you want comparison, here's an original one. Actually, it's not too bad, this one. The end pipes, as you can see, are starting to rust, but aren't too bad. But even so, it's worthy of replacement. And I've started refurbishing. I've taken one of the core plugs out. Anyway, we don't need to look at that anymore. Back to the nice one. First things we're going to do, we're going to flip this over. On the underside of the inlet manifold, you'll see here, there's a gap. And in this gap goes the Ptc heater. This is quite important in the whole setup of the SPi running. The whole single point injection is a wet manifold system, which means it squirts fuel in and it mixes the air at the same time before going out into the engine. So everything inside is wet, so it's really important to keep the manifold warm, which is why it's got extra heating pipes and why it has a Ptc heater. Anyway, these tend to go wrong. I'll show you what a Ptc heater is. This is an old one, and hopefully you'll be able to hear this. That's a broken one. That's the easy way to find out whether they're broken or not. You can test them as well electronically. And if you go to Classic Mini NLA and look for the Ptc heater post, you'll see my explanation how to test it electronically. Anyway, don't need that one. We're going to put a new one in. Here's a nice new one, nice and shiny. First of all, oh yes, no rattle, awesome. First of all, you need to put the seal on it. There's a little rubber seal, fits around like that. Very important, because obviously if the seal doesn't hold, you end up fuel dripping down to your hot manifold underneath. These can only go in one way. You can see there's a little notch here, hopefully you can see that, and then a little notch into the manifold there. So we'll just put that in there. There we go. Right, so this is a little bit awkward, so I'll try and do this in the video, and it might take a few attempts. This is a circlip, obviously, which is a very powerful circlip. So if you let go of it while you're trying to do it, it will ping across the room. So duck. We're going to use these special, they're probably a good name for them, but I call them pliers, which are specially for doing circlips. They fit into there and you can pull them together. As you can see, it likes to pop out. Right, I'm now going to try and do this, and I'm going to turn it and face me because it's easier to do. Try and get this in here for you. I've done hundreds of these before, but they don't always play ball. You need... oh, nearly! What I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a screwdriver just to help me get a bit of purchase on this. I'm just going to use the screwdriver to hold that side down. What I'm trying to do is a little outer clip. There we go, just about there I think. That looks like it's in. Just check. Yep, that's in. There we go. Well, that saved my blushes. Anyway, that clip is now in and all ready to do. Next we are going to put in the temperature sender or temperature sensor. So let me just put these tools away and we shall do that. Right, Next we're going to put the temperature sender in. This is or temperature sensor. This is the main temperature sensor. It senses the water temperature in the inlet manifold, but also is the main thing that sends the message to the ECU to tell it what temperature the engine is at, and it does different things depending on what the temperature the engine is at. As you can see, it fits in here. Traditionally people just put these in raw, as you see here. This is, but I wouldn't recommend that. I'm going to add some PTFE around it. It's a bit of plumbing, and that's what you do if you're a plumber. You add a bit of PTFE. So let me just go and get some PTFE. This is just standard PTFE. What you want to do is you want to try and visualize how this is going to go in. Obviously it goes in and rotates clockwise into here, so what you want to do is put the PTFE in a way that it's not going to unravel itself. And I always forget how to do it, but I'm going to just sit and work this out. I think it's that way. No, it's the other way around. There we go. So if you're this way handed, now I'm just going to wrap this round. Now what you want to do is you want to do 4 wraps round. So that's 1, and I'm going to mark to here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, there you go, it just snaps off. Don't worry about it being over the top of the bottom. No one's going to win any beauty prizes for this. It's purely functional, and it just helps with the seal between the temperature sender and where it fits in here. So I'm just going to wind this in by hand as tight as I can for the moment. There we go, it's got tight. This is a 3/4 spanner, and you just, unsurprisingly, just tighten it in. As I said, this is a very important component in the SPi system, and because the inlet manifold tends to rot, it also tends to fill with silt. And when that happens, this temperature sender can no longer do its job and sends the wrong information to the ECU. And that's actually one of the most common problems. You can reach it from the edge. It's very easy to do as it's off, the inlet manifold is off on a bench like this, but it can be done in the car, but you need a really long extension set and really skinny arms to get to it. Anyway, so that's the temperature sender or temperature sensor in place. Next thing's next, we're going to flip this over, and we are going to add the 4 studs here. I might cheat and you may just see 1 stud going in, and then, or miraculously, all 4 studs will be in. As you can see, just at the bottom there, you can see the bottom of the Ptc heater, or the top of the Ptc heater here. One thing I forgot to mention is people just think these are here for cold starts, which it does help immensely with the cold starting of the engine. But the ECU also uses it through the whole temperature range to improve the fueling. So don't just think it's for cold starts. But if you do have an issue with your engine, your SPi not really starting very well, that could be the reason. Anyway, back onto the thing, the studs. As you can see, the studs have like a collar in the middle, and a short thread and then a long thread. So the short thread is the bit that goes inside in the manifold itself. I'm just going to wind this in by hand as far as I can, and it should, because these are fairly clean studs, these should go in fairly straightforwardly. Right, going like this. Now, if you've not done this before, how to get these all the way in is I use a couple of nuts. So wind 1 nut that way up, so there's enough thread to put the other nut, and now put the other nut the other way around. So what I'm doing is I'm going to basically lock the top nut with the bottom nut. So a couple of 13 spanners will do the trick, if you get a 13 spanner anyway. and just crush it with your hand. Just a little bit more for good measure. There we go, so that should be locked in place. This will now allow me to wind this down. And what you want to do is wind it down until you feel the resistance of that shoulder or that collar hitting the manifold. And then just a little bit, done. Now to undo it, just use your hands again. There we go, and those should both unwind nicely from the stud. Do the next one. Well, as you can see, I've put all the studs in now. They went in fine, all nice and level, and all to the shoulder, all good. Right, I'm going to put this to one side because there's an important piece we have to do next, which is the spacer. This is the spacer that we're going to put one of these back together again. But basically that fits on there and goes in between the inlet manifold and the throttle body. But I'm just going to put this together properly. It's an old one. I'll put that to one side. Right, here we are. So, as I said, this is a spacer that will, when you dismantle this, that's what it will look like. You need to get the paper off because it won't seal again properly. It's a bit of a difficult job to do that, but with the finished article, there you go, without paper, and we're going to add the paper on top, like so. These gaskets are available from Classic Mini NLA. Go and have a look at the shop. I sell them as a pair. They're laser cut precision things. Okay, what we need to do is I'm going to put some Hylamar blue on this face and the other face so that we get a decent seal between the gasket and the plastic spacer. You don't have to do that, but they were bonded when they were made by Rover. Oh, of course, the old Hymalaya stuck in the actual box trick. Don't you love it when a plan goes to plan? There we go, get rid of that box. So Hymalaya is a well-known gasket jointing material, and it never sets. So basically, the only thing that'll take it off is exciting nail polish remover, which is acetone, I believe. So I'm going to put some of this on. I'll get it all over myself, and then I'll have to clean up, and I'll have to clean up some of the spacer. But you'll see that as I do. Shockingly, it's blue. There we go. Let me get a little bit of rag. So, you don't want too much of this. I'm just going to put a little bit there, a little bit there, and a little bit there on this side. And I'm just going to carefully spread it around. And you want to spread it right across the surface, right round the fixing. And you don't have to be copious with this. It just needs to be enough that there's an amount of Hylamar, I can't even say it right, on the surface. Just going to put a smidge more, so I can do this bit up here. Just get around there. Okay. As you can see, there's just like a greasy layer. It's not greasy at all. It's very sticky over the top of that. And I'm just going to pop that, aim it over the holes properly. There we go, done. Doesn't matter if some comes onto this gasket face, not at all, not a problem. So that is now on there and over the top. flip it over. Let's do the same for this side. Put a blob. That's a big blob. Don't really want that much, but we'll cope. And again, just going to smear it over the surfaces, trying to get everywhere where the gasket will go, which goes around the holes. Now I don't put Heimler on the other side. I just let it bond. The throttle body and the inlet man will do the bonding on the other side, just like it was for the rover gaskets. Okay, there is a suitable coating around that now. My hands are sticky. Okay, and again, line it all up nicely. Just pat it down, and now it's stuck there. Right, there we go. So I'm just going to put this to one side, and I'm just going to get a bit of this and a bit of nail polish remover, and I'm just going to take away, you can see it's lifting off there, it doesn't really matter, because shortly we're going to bolt it to the throttle body. There's a little bit there, and if you just do that round the out edge, then you'll just pick up any bits that round the outer edge, and then you'll just pick up any bits that come through the side. And likewise, probably more important, is just to go around the inside of the business end. So this is where the fuel and air flies through. So you just want to try and remove it. Heimler won't cause any problems, it's inert. It'll just make things sticky when they shouldn't do. Right, that's all done. Next, we're going to put it on the inlet manifold. Right, let's get the inlet manifold, and let's just pop this on here. Let's get it the right way around. That's the right way around. So as you can see, it doesn't matter if it's doing this. As I said, the Heimler it never goes off, so it's sticky and it will seal, especially when you clamp it all together. Right, we'll just pop this on. There we go. As you can see, it fits nice and snug with the top of the thing, of the inlet manifold. Right, for the final piece, let me get, well, not quite the final piece, and just to keep it all in place, I'm going to put the throttle body on, because that looks exciting. There we go, throttle body and inlet manifold all together. I'm not going to bolt it up correctly, I'm just going to pop that off so you can see. I just wanted you to see how it all fitted together. I'll pop that to one side. Before I do anything else, there's one little more bracket to put on here, which is the accelerator cable bracket. This one I've rust proofed, and I've sprayed it with high temperature paint because it looks nicer, I think. And I'm just going to put this on here. A couple of stainless steel bolts. As I say, this is the accelerator cable bracket. This is quite an important bracket. The position of this is important because you have to set the lost motion gap, which is basically adjusting the accelerator cable. And then this needs to be in a precise place. The cable goes through and you adjust the two nuts either side for the throttle cable. But I won't show you how to do that in this particular thing. I might do a video on it at another time. Just give them a bit of a tighten up. All good. Right, we shall come back to this with the final assembly, part 4. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching. Please like the video, follow the channel if you fancy it too, and why not pop over to the Facebook page, which is at Classic Mini NLA. Thank you very much for watching.